On March 29th, 1832, Ralph Waldo Emerson walked to his wife's grave in Roxbury and opened the coffin. He was 28 years old. She had been dead for 14 months. And according to his journal, he did not simply visit the tomb. He opened the coffin itself. No explanation, no elaboration, just 6 words. I visited Ellen's tomb and opened the coffin. What he saw, he never recorded. But what happened next would reshape American thought for the next 2 centuries. This is the story most people never hear, because it begins in a place no philosophy lecture will take you. It begins with a man standing over the body of the woman he loved, forcing himself to look. Her name was Ellen Tucker. She was 17 when they met, 18 when they married, and 20 when she died. From almost the beginning, their life together was marked by blood. Ellen had tuberculosis. She coughed through their engagement, through their wedding, through every carriage ride they took together, chasing cures that didn't exist. Doctors prescribed fresh air and jolting, long, punishing rides over rough roads meant to shake the disease loose. Emerson took her 200 miles through New Hampshire. She seemed better, then worse, then better again. They wrote poetry together, laughed at shakers who tried to convert them to celibacy. She intended to be a poet. He had just been ordained as a minister in Boston. For a moment, the future looked clear. Then came February 1831. Ellen's final days were brutal. Her lungs failed in stages. A nurse rubbed her cold hands to keep circulation. She rode out twice on her last Wednesday, trying to outrun what was coming. By Sunday, she was on the brink. Every breath was agony. Emerson's brother, Charles, wrote that Waldo was a man over whom the waters have gone. But it was Ellen who stayed calm. She comforted him. She asked Charles to look after Waldo when she was gone, and not to let him think too much of her. Her last words were fragments, something inarticulate. Then, just before 9 in the morning, I have not forgot the peace and joy. She was 20 years old. Emerson wrote to his aunt that same morning. The letter is strange, grief sharpened into something unrecognizable. My angel is gone to heaven this morning, he wrote, and I am alone in the world, and strangely happy. He did not mean it the way it sounds. What followed was not peace. It was collapse. For 14 months, Emerson walked to Ellen's grave every day. He wrote to her in his journal as though she were still alive. He could not preach without thinking of her. He could not believe in the afterlife the church promised, and he could not stop believing in her. His brother said things were flying to pieces. His career was failing. His congregation expected him to perform a sacrament, communion, he no longer believed in. He wasn't sure what he believed anymore. About God, about death, about himself. And then came the walk to Roxbury on March 29th. He did not simply visit. He opened the tomb, and then he opened the coffin. This was not as unusual as it sounds. At least 2 of Emerson's contemporaries did the same thing. But for Emerson, the act meant something specific. He had to see for himself. That was always his way. No second-hand reports, no borrowed faith. He once wrote that a man should seek an original relation to the universe, not a novel relation, just his own. Standing at that coffin, he was not performing grief. He was confronting it, testing it against what he could actually see, actually know, actually verify with his own eyes. Whatever he found there, and he never said, something shifted. That insistence on seeing for himself, on not accepting borrowed answers about his own mind, runs through everything Emerson wrote afterward. He built a practice of daily self-examination, journals, questions, returning again and again to what he actually believed versus what he had been told to believe. If that kind of structured reflection sounds useful, there's an app called affirmations.app that works on the same principle. Short daily prompts to clarify your own thinking. Link in the description. Now watch what happens when Emerson walks away from that grave. Within weeks of opening the coffin, his sermons changed. No more afterlife. No more salvation. He preached about the God of the living. He wrote a sermon on astronomy and, in his journal, a single, devastating line. The irresistible effect of Copernican astronomy has been to make the theological scheme of redemption absolutely incredible. By summer, he told his congregation he could no longer administer communion. The church tried to keep him. He refused to compromise. In September, he resigned. By Christmas Day, 1832, he had sold his furniture, moved his mother, and boarded a ship bound for Europe. Alone, in a storm, sailing into the North Atlantic with no position, no plan, and no clear faith in anything but his own unfinished questions. He was 29 years old. What came next is what the textbooks remember. The essays, the lectures, nature, self-reliance, the American scholar. The founding of a philosophy that told a young country it did not need permission from Europe, from tradition, from anyone. But those books were not written by a man who avoided death. They were written by a man who opened a coffin. 10 years later, Emerson's 5-year-old son, Waldo, died of scarlet fever in a single night. Emerson wrote to a friend, "Shall I ever dare to love anything again?" He kept writing. He kept asking the same question he had asked his whole life, the one he called his heart's inquiry. Whence is your power? His answer never changed. From my non-conformity. I never listened to your people's law, or to what they call their gospel, and wasted my time. I was content with the simple rural poverty of my own. Hence this sweetness.